everyone, this is a chemistry video on redox reactions. So a redox reaction is reduction and oxidation, and it always has to be both. So reduction is the gaining of electrons, which makes the substance more negative, and then oxidation is the loss of electrons, which makes the substance more positive. A good way to remember this is oil rig. Oil stands for oxidation is losing electrons, and rig is standing for reduction is gaining electrons. A key concept in redox reactions are oxidation numbers. So these are numbers assigned to an element in chemical combination that represents the number of electrons lost or gained if the number is negative by an atom of that element in the compound. So there are 6 things that go along with oxidation numbers that you have to memorize. So 1. Oxidation numbers add up to the total charge on the molecule. Number 2. The oxidation number of a neutral element not bonded to any other element is 0. So for example, sulfur by itself is 0. Number 3. Alkali metals are +1 and alkali earth metals are +2. Number 4. Hydrogen is +1 unless it is at the end of a compound with a metal, then it is -1. Number 5. Oxygen is -1, except in peroxides, it becomes -1. So there are 2 key concepts in redox reactions. So one is oxidizing agents and the other one is reducing agents. So an oxidizing agent is a substance that removes electrons from something, and this is reduced. So you can see in this picture, which I will explain after. So reducing agent is a substance that gains electrons from something. It is oxidized. So in this picture you can see the yellow dot is an electron and it's going to the left. So that means that the right is losing an electron, which means it's being oxidized, because if you think back to oil rig. So this means it's a reducing agent, because if you look at the definition. So I want you guys to try to do this example. So find the oxidized element and the reduced element from the redox reaction below. Just a tip is to think back to oil rig. Oxidation is losing electrons and reduction is gaining electrons. Okay, so I'm going to throw the answer up there now. So the oxidized element is sodium, because if you look at it, at first it's 0, because thinking back to the oxidation numbers, anything by itself is 0, and it goes to +1. So that means it's losing electrons because it's becoming more positive. And losing electrons is oxidation. And reduction is aluminum because it's going from +3 to 0. So another way to write this is by cell notation. So you have your original equation here, and then you have the cell notation here. So there are 3 things that go into cell notation. You have oxidation anode, reduction cathode, and the salt bridge. So to find the oxidation anode, you have to find which element is being oxidized, which means which one is losing electrons and becoming more positive. So if you look, this is 0 because it's by itself, and then it goes to +2. So that means it's the oxidation anode. And then the reduction cathode is when it's becoming more negative. So it means it's gaining electrons. So it goes from +2 to 0. The salt bridge it maintains charge balance. So in this diagram, this right here is the salt bridge, and that it just maintains the charge balance. And you can see the left beaker is the anode because it's losing electrons, and then the right beaker is the cathode because it's gaining electrons. And that's it. Thank you.